And I like after OnlyFans,
Hmm.
when I started at Brazzers and started working with Kieran Lee, Kieran kind of helped me out. He like really did me a solid without even being asked, and he just told a lot of really veteran porn stars like you should work with her. She's so smart. And
So, real quickly, the million that being having that said about you by the $1 million dick, right? That's what Kieran Lee, I think, is known as. He has his penis insured for $1 million. How did that feel going into like? How quickly did you work with Kieran after joining Brazzers? Let's just go ahead and get in. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another Smokin session. I'm your host, CrazyRocky, as always, and I am joined today by the illustrious, the elucidative, another word that starts with E, Mrs. Robinson. How are you doing today, Mrs. Robinson?
hi, Crazy Rocky. I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. No, thank you for coming on. Basically, I just wanted to kind of talk to you about the industry and your come up and what you feel about the industry, etc. Because there's a lot of debate that happens on the internet these days of like, is it good that OnlyFans is a thing? Is it bad that OnlyFans is a thing? Especially with how big it's blown up lately. And then also, I kind of just wanted to hear a little bit about you because let me just start here. The place that I found you was Johnny Sins on TikTok replying to you saying that you were his teacher. Now, was that true? Were you Johnny Sin's teacher?
Yes.
You were. Okay, okay,
Yes.
that's fascinating. Now, like, so let's, I guess that's a good way to get into your career. So what did you do before starting in the porn industry?
Yeah. So I am a PTA mom. I was actually PTA president at
Okay,
one
okay.
point. They will never let me back in. Literally, I'm never allowed back in.
Dang.
But I was, yeah, right. I went to grad school for education and I taught for about 7 or 8 years in Western Pennsylvania and then down in South Florida. And I ended up having kids and I decided after, I didn't work for a little bit and then I went in a completely different direction. I got into advertising. If you've ever watched Mad Men,
Uh-huh.
um, yeah, I lived in the Don Draper world, which is predominantly male.
Yeah.
So I started a career um, at the very bottom of the corporate ladder. And I started selling like little newspaper ads in newspapers that were like outside grocery stores. I was making like $8 an hour. And I mean, we're talking newspapers. That's how long ago it was. So
Yeah.
I kind of climbed the corporate ladder and then digital came out and it was something I was really good at. And I ended up getting recruited by like a Fortune 500 company to do digital media strategy and advertising. And I just climbed from there. I did really well. I would say, gosh, by the end of, I was 49, I was burnt out. We were just talking before the podcast started
Hmm.
about how I travel to LA and Vegas for work now, and it's once every 4 to 6 weeks. So prior to this, I was on the road every week on a plane, and I was just getting tired and burnt out. And I was kind of looking for a way out, but um, the money was too good. Like I was doing too well in my career, but and I don't want to be a slave to the dollar. And then here we are. If you want to hear how I got
Yeah.
into the porn world, so
I guess actually, real quickly, that was one of the things I was gonna ask. You said it was good money, so like $8. Can you put it into perspective? Like, is that a lot? Is that a good bit of money at this time, or is that not much? What is that?
back yeah, back then it was terrible.
Hmm.
Even then,
Okay.
but then I climbed the corporate ladder, and by the time I ended up retiring,
Uh huh.
I had retirement accounts and investments, and I was making well over 6 figures for 10 years.
Got you.
So
Okay.
I was kicking ass, and I was really respected in the industry. Everybody knew me as, I was like a shark, and um, it was awesome. And nobody was ever disrespectful to me. I never like hooked up with any
Uh
of the
huh.
people. I was just all business. And it's funny, I see some of them now. Well, I don't see them, but they message me now and I'm like, uh-huh. I knew you were looking at me weird.
Oh, that's hilarious. So, a
Yeah.
businesswoman through and through, it sounds like. So what
Mhm.
was it that made you, in that case, like, you said you were burnt out. Would you say that, like, being burnt out pushed you towards, like, porn? And is porn something that is easier to not get burned out in for you? And if so, like, why? What makes porn easier to continue through on a repetitive basis, etc.?
Sure. Now that's a great question. I was burnt out from being gone every week. I'm a single mom, and at the time I had a 13-year-old and a 23-year-old. The
Okay.
23-year-old was off on her own, and she, had a professional career after graduating college. But I had a teenager at home, and I'm a single mom and an only child, so I had to rely on my elderly parents to help me out. And it was just, it was a lot. It was just exhausting being gone every single week. And then, getting into the porn world, I would say is I could get burnt out if I worked. I work really, really hard at whatever I do. And, um, I want to do the best job I can possibly do. I'm an eternal people pleaser as far as, overachiever, wanting to do well. And so the work is just different. And even though it's very much the same, what I
Mm-hmm.
did in my actual career is what I do in the porn world. People have a misconception that porn is all about sex,
Mm-hmm.
and that's the product you see, but
Mm-hmm.
it's truly all about business and advertising and marketing. And, I do know that I look a little bit younger than most 51-year-olds.
Mm-hmm.
However, it wouldn't really matter because what I do excel in is marketing and advertising. So I just applied those skills from my former job to what I'm
Yeah.
doing now. And I knew, if I'm teaching Best Buy and Morgan Stanley and, all these big companies, Macy's, how to do media strategy, I knew I could do it for my own brand.
Yeah.
And there's been a learning curve. There's been a little bit of a learning curve in the porn world, but I've got some really good MILF mentors that have been,
Now
um,
that is a title that would be pretty awesome to have, MILF Mentor. All right.
yeah,
So
right?
I do have to say, you're 100. I mean, just off of my little bit of knowledge of like how advertising works and how the internet works, based on like the little bit of like buzz I've tried to generate for myself, is like basically the SEO rankings and etc. that you're gonna get when trying to post a YouTube video or a video to Pornhub that you're just trying to drag views in, whatever it might be, is gonna be really similar to the SEO that like Best Buy is going to try to get if they post like some sort of video to promote their new product, right? Like you're going to always
Yes,
just be trying to get to the front page of everything with the most views possible. And that's all you're
yes.
trying to do in the porn industry too, right? So I mean, I guess that makes total sense that you could easily switch over to that. And would it, when you were traveling, were you having to travel all over the world, and where more now you have to travel just to like these couple locations? And does that make it a little easier as well, not having to travel everywhere? Yeah, I would
Yeah,
imagine.
so where I established clients mostly is where I had to go on a regular basis. So, I spent a lot of time in New York. Madison Avenue obviously is
Hmm.
huge, and Broadway and Times Square, those areas where you're big advertising, what would you call it, powerhouses. And
Yeah.
then in the South, a lot in Nashville and Miami and Dallas and California. So I guess
Sure.
I am going to a lot of similar places, but it's different. Now I'm flying in a day early so I can be STD tested and then
Hmm.
going and shooting pictures and shooting scenes with studios and
Yeah.
hooking up with people for content that I've
Hmm.
become friends with over the last 2 years when I decided to dive
Yeah.
headfirst into porn.
Yeah, and so you had said that it was kind of it was limiting in a sense when you were working in that industry of advertising, right? The one thing that I've thought about is that there's a limit. I want to go into law. I guess I'll start there. And one of the
Nice.
things that I hate about that is that we're not allowed to have neck tattoos and we're not allowed to have hand tattoos. And then, I mean, I have this tattoo over here that says CrazyRocky. I have this. I plan on full sleeves. And I love neck tattoos and hand tattoos, but I can't get them because of the industry I'm going in. Now, one
Hmm.
thing that I've thought of is with porn, obviously, like, as you mentioned, you can't go back to being a PTA mom. So porn is limiting in its own right in the sense that people will look at you differently. And then even the opportunities that you get are different. What stigma have you ran into being a porn actress, or what have you been turned away from that you wouldn't have been if you were still in, say, advertising, etc.?
Sure. So, if it's okay, I'll back up a little bit how I got into porn, because that
For sure.
kind of explains that I can answer that question better.
Yeah.
So right around when COVID hit, I was at this socially distanced bonfire with this acquaintance had been there, and he started talking about his wife has an OnlyFans page, and I didn't even know what OnlyFans was. And he asked me if I ever thought about doing milf porn. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, I went to graduate school, I have kids. I'm not doing pornography. I can't do that to my children. Sorry, I still have like post-COVID nasal drip.
Oh, you're
Gross,
okay.
I know.
I just
Sorry.
got over it too. I just got over it too. You're good. Good.
So gross. So I was like, show me the data. That's what I want to see. It's funny, Rocky. I'm like a data geek underneath it all. Like, I love metrics. That's what turns me on.
I'm a
numbers,
stats geek,
spreadsheets.
so. Yep, I feel you there. I like general like statistics and I like reading studies. And again, I want to go into law. I like debate, so you got to have the studies on hand and stuff. So anyway, go ahead.
Yes, exactly. So he's showing me the data, and I'm floored. And he's like, why don't you think about it? And I said, because I would never do that to my kids. I would never have my kids. And I was like, plus, I care too much what other people think.
Mm-hmm.
So I went home that night and I couldn't fall asleep. I was picturing it. I'm like, could I do porn? Like, I had been looking, I had a couple like Joe Rogan type experiences over the last 4 or 5 years where I was trying to get to a higher level of enlightenment, if you will, without getting into too much detail. And
oh, I kind of want more detail now, but go ahead.
Yeah, we could talk about plant medicine.
Hell yeah. All right. Yep,
Yeah.
we'll get there next.
So I had been looking for, here I was about to turn 50, and my whole life I cared so much what other people thought. If someone didn't like me, I didn't understand, because at the core, I know I'm a really good person. I'm a hard worker. I give and I give. I've never been a taker. And so I've just really cared way too much what other people thought. And so I lived a life that wasn't really authentic to myself. And so I was like, could this be it? Could this be get naked on the internet? And then it doesn't matter what anyone thinks. I'm like, no, I don't have the balls. So the next day, we were having dinner, and my daughter, I said, hey, what do you think about me doing an OnlyFans page? And she was like, yeah, Mom, I mean, sure. And I'm like, well, would it affect your career? Because she is a pretty high profile lead vocalist on a high-end cruise line. I'm like, they wouldn't shun you because of me. She's like, it's entertainment. They all have OnlyFans pages. I was like, okay, cool. Fair. She's like, but what about my 13-year-old? I think he had just turned 14. And so he came to dinner, and I was like, hey, what do you think about Mom having an OnlyFans page? He like spit out his water all over the table, and he was like, Mom, listen, you're pretty for like a mom, but do you think they want to see that? And like motioned at me with his hands. And I was like, honestly, I don't, but I'm hearing that they do want to see it.
That's
and he said,
hilarious.
get that. Yeah, he goes, get that bag, Mom. So
that's a based kid. I like your kid. that's
amazing. Like,
that's
so
reasonable.
Freaking amazing. Yeah, but you know what else? Like, I couldn't believe it. And then like I'm like, you know what? I'm going to come back to you in a few days, because I can't live with myself being responsible for fucking up my kids. I just can't. But their dad did that enough. So I was like, so 2 days later, I'm like, hey, remember we were talking about OnlyFans? He was like, yeah, how's it going? I'm like, well, I didn't start it yet. I wanted to come back and make sure you were still okay with it. Mm-hmm. And I said, do you understand what's going to happen? You're going to walk into school, and some asshole's going to hold up a phone with my naked body on it and say your mom's pussy's on the internet. And just totally calmly, he goes, why do you care what people think? I don't. And I was like, damn, like it gives me chills to this day when I say that, because I was like, how does my kid, like, I've done something right and raised my kid to not care what other people think, but I couldn't do it myself. And I'm like, but if he doesn't care, I don't care. Called the guy. I'm like, I'm fucking in. Let's fucking go. And he's like, okay, well, so that was that. And the kid doesn't care and is totally supportive. So you were asking about like repercussions. There have been moms that don't want their kid around my kid. I
Okay.
don't know what they think's going on over here.
I
Like,
know, like you're
I
having
don't
sex
film in
with.
my house.
Yeah,
I've never filmed
randoms.
with my kid home. I just
Yeah.
don't do that. Like, I'm really,
Well,
I have
also
a
like
lot of,
with sorry, real quickly, with the industry that you're in, to think that you could tie up your children or in any way into that is extremely strange. Like from where they're coming from, it's like, what do you think's happening? That you're gonna send your kid over here and they're gonna see you having sex? Like that's so strange to me. But anyway, sorry. Go ahead and continue.
yes, it is, but it's like that whole Karen mentality. And
Hmm.
I'm no different than how I was before. I still have integrity. I still have morals. I still care about my kids more than anything in the world. I would never do anything like that. And I think at the beginning, when my kids' friends would come over, they come in and then they go and they all like hang out in, the game room or in my kid's bedroom. And for the first, I would say, couple of weeks, I could see the confusion on their faces because I'm still sitting around here with like food on my leggings and like my hair in a ponytail. I don't know if they were coming up expecting me to be sitting here in like, some kind of lacy lingerie, like, so and so's mom's in porno. So I don't know what they thought, but at any rate, nothing has changed in my home. As far as opportunities, the only opportunities I want now would have something to do with the adult industry. I knew I could never go back to what I was doing. And so
Yeah.
that had to come into play. Um, is what I have found, there are people that I thought were friends
Hmm.
that have taken such issue with what I'm doing. And I always forget this until I run into someone. They're like, yeah, I ran into so and so, and she was saying all about all the trauma you're causing your children. I'm like, my kids are good. Like, I
Yeah.
go to a therapist. I have like, my kids are really, really good, and we're really open. And but people I thought were my friends ended up not really being my friends and very judgmental. And I don't want
Yeah.
that in my life. Yeah, fuck that. And
Yeah. No,
so yeah,
mhm. Yeah, so
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
no, I would say the same. Like I have certain political beliefs that like, and not to get into it, but that like I'll talk to somebody and I'll just say it because I'm like, oh, it's a normal thing to be like, oh, being trans is cool. You know what I mean? Something like, or for example, I wanted to paint my fingernails because I bite my nails so bad, and I'm already dripped out, bun in the hair in a bun. Fuck it, might as well go the rest of the way, right? And so
Yeah.
I asked my cousin, and she freaked the fuck out, like lost her mind, like, oh, you're gay and like all this other stuff. And I'm like, okay, first of all, I'm not gay, but even if I was,
What if you
no
were?
problem. Yeah, would you hate me then because I am gay? Like, it makes no sense. And so I don't even, some of these things I don't even think about until I talk to one of those people, right? And then you're like, wow,
Yeah.
this people like this exist. But also I think that what you said there a little bit earlier speaks to the overall problem, and the reason we've seen a lot of women get onto OnlyFans now is there is this idea that just from having sex or being a porn star, or not even just having sex on camera, having like rampant sex, right? Like, let's say you're a mom who's considered just a slut, like you have sex with a bunch of the different
Sure.
guys in your town. All there's this stigma that like you're gonna ruin your kids' lives and like all this other stuff, and it's like I don't question my mother's sex life. I don't feel like that's something I need to do. That's a really weird thing. I don't want to think about my mom's sex life. And if she did start a porno, like a porn, started doing porn, I wouldn't care because I just wouldn't interact with it. What am I gonna go? I'm not gonna watch it. And so,
Right.
but your kid, like, you definitely did something right because
Thank you.
I thought of myself in that, like, at 14, like being told that by my mom, and I don't think at 14 I would have been able to say like it's fine. I think at 16 I probably would have been at the point where I would have been like, yeah, sure. But 14, that's to be so self-assured and self-confident that it's like, no, I don't care about what society thinks. Like, that is extremely cool. And so it sounds like you accepted any of the potential repercussions prior to going in, so therefore it didn't really affect you when any of these things came about. Would that be kind of a fair statement?
Like spot on, completely spot on. And it was interesting when you were talking, my teenager came out as trans over the summer too.
Okay, yeah.
So, and I had someone say, if she wouldn't have started doing porn, maybe her kid wouldn't be trans. And I
Oh
was
my
like,
god, these people
I
don't
knew my kid
understand how
was,
this works.
I knew my kid was gay when they were two, and I've been waiting. And every year I'd be like, hey, just so you know, if you're ever, want to come out, it's all good. It's all good in our hood. And, but I was surprised they were trans,
Yeah.
but I don't care. I love my kid no matter what. But when
No,
somebody
that's how it
said
should
that,
be. Yeah.
Yeah, and this was a friend that said, "Do you think because you do porn, your kid is trans?" And I was
It's
like,
always the friends or the like not immediate family members, but like the cousins and usually there's sometimes immediate family members, but usually it's those the people on the peripheral that aren't totally unrelated but are somewhat in the picture that end up like freaking out and taking it as a front to themselves and all this other stuff.
"Yes,
It's so strange to me how you could be so invested in the way somebody else portrays themselves or what somebody else does bedroom. It's like, just get over yourself. We all do things that we
yes,
disapprove of from each other, you know?
I'm with you. I'm with you
Yeah.
100%. What's going on over here?" Sorry, I hate to say I am a little bit vain, but like there was something poking out. I'm like, "Is that in my hair?"
Hey, listen, it's your
Sorry.
job now, and I was somebody who like one thing because I thought about like potential. So we do make Pornhub content, just reviewing porn and stuff like that, and there's been like jokes about like oh, if you're gonna review like you're on Pornhub, if you're gonna review content, like, because we can't also show it, right? Because if it's an OnlyFans thing, we're not gonna break somebody's copyright, all that stuff. So anyway, so like if it's like we did a reaction to Belle Delphine, and that got like our biggest views because we also like had some chats with Belle Delphine, and she also was like, yeah, go ahead, you can do it, it's fine. And so the people were like, at least like take off your clothes and masturbate a little bit while you review the content and stuff. And I was like, well, that's hilarious. And then I was like, you know what, I'm not going to do that, but could I ever? I don't know if I could do that. And it all stemmed from like this like kind of bullying and whatnot that I had when I was younger. So like this, then I thought about too, one thing that kind of plays into it, I suppose, a little bit is there's a level of being vain that I think is not just okay, but one, it's necessary if you're a porn star, and two, I think it can actually be healthy. Like now that I got myself a bonnet recently because like my hair, I want to protect all that stuff. I put it on. I was like, you know what? I look mad cute right now. I look, you know what I mean? And it felt
Yes,
good to
you
have
do.
that. And I felt good to have that like thought like, wow, I like how I look, and there's no problem with taking like a little bit of pride in how you present yourself, you know. But that's another stigma with porn stars. It's like, oh, you're either got to be vain or stupid or this or that. It doesn't make much sense. So on the end of, and I will get off stereotypes here in a moment, but in the end of like how people treat you, have you found that anybody maybe treats you more like you're like unintelligent or a slut or vain or any of these things that are the stereotypes of a porn star?
It's interesting because um prior to doing porn, I'm completely celibate outside of porn.
Okay.
I don't date and I don't hook up. I haven't been on a date in years, and I haven't had non-porn sex in 2 years now, 2.5 years. Um, but the guys who were very respectful toward me, like extended acquaintances, have started like hitting me up. And I'm
Mhm.
like, wow. And I just shut them down right away. I'm
Oh
like, yeah, I
yeah.
don't date. I don't hook up. Like, that's my job.
Mhm.
And after that, I shut them down and they're like, oh, yeah, that's who she is. As far as being less intelligent, I don't think so because of the way that I came into the porn industry. Um, and I, like after OnlyFans,
Mhm.
when I started at Brazzers and started working with Kieran Lee, Kieran kind of helped me out. He like really did me a solid without even being asked, and he just told a lot of really veteran porn stars, like, you should work with her. She's so smart and she
Damn.
gets advertising and she gets marketing. So there was, within the industry, I definitely have a good reputation for being smart.
Uh-huh.
And my circle has become smaller outside of
Mhm.
the industry. So yeah, just those guys that are trying to get laid or they think like maybe I hook up now. And I'm like,
Okay.
yeah, like absolutely not. I'm
And
done.
yeah, that's and of course you got to set those boundaries right away, or else they're gonna keep pushing. You know, I'm sure, especially with your status and whatnot. So real quickly, the million that being having that said about you by the $1 million dick, right? That's what Kieran Lee I think is known as. He has his penis insured for $1 million. How did that feel going into like? How quickly did you work with Kieran after joining Brazzers?
So I was doing OnlyFans for 6 months,
Mm-hmm.
maybe about 6 months, and I was on Twitter and I posted almost. I'm a really big troll. I
Hey,
I tr
nice.
Yeah, like I am an OG. Like I want to go head to head with 6ix9ine, and like I will troll the shit out of him. But anyway, um, I put on Twitter on purpose a bunch of people told me today I should be on Brazzers. What do you think? And within an hour, Kieran Lee saw it because I tagged Brazzers and, or I hashtag Brazzers and added Brazzers. And he said, I agree and I want to direct you. And within a
Dang.
month, I was in LA shooting for Brazzers. So that was he brought me there.
Wow.
And we sat down and we had like a really long conversation about marketing and advertising. And we kind of teamed up because I had a team that I had hired. I kind of pulled them all from their various jobs. Like I stole people, from Google Analytics or from other places. I shouldn't really say that. But anyway, I had a really good team and my team worked with his team and we shared ideas and he introduced me to Cheri Deville and Johnny Sins and Brandy Love, Nikki Benz, Van Wild, like a whole plethora of, and then those people I became friends with and they introduced me to more people. And we all just kind of collaborated on shout outs and shared information on what was working and what wasn't working. So 6 months in with OnlyFans and I was on Brazzers and then it just snowballed from there. And, I've done a ton now with studios and I have a publicist now. And then Cheri introduced me to Alexis Fox. So I shot with her and Kieran introduced me to Reid, and when Riley started her agency, Riley manages my brand now.
Wow, that's crazy.
Not all of it, but she manages part of it.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
She has an agency, Ash Agency. They're amazing, and they took over part of something I was doing. My mom ended up getting really sick in April, and she has stage 4 cancer, and I'm in charge of her care and I'm like, I need to offload some of this stuff. And Riley was like, oh my gosh, come to my agency. I'll take care of you. And she sure did. And
that's awesome.
It's nuts. It's just nuts.
No, that's insane. You just kind of got, I respect the trolling. I love trolling myself. That's how I mentioned that VidMe site when I got like decent size there early on in my life. That's all I did was troll nonstop. So I gotta respect that off top. But that's so crazy that out of a troll, all of a sudden, a month later, you're like steeped deep into the porn world with basically all of the biggest names. And that is a genius point to make, that what you want to do in order to grow yourself and to grow the best team is pull the smartest people from the different places you can, because you want to have people that are a team that is rounded out with a bunch of different points of knowledge, etc., as well as different points of experience if possible. So that makes perfect sense on how you're able to get such a good team together. And then I've heard that the porn industry, not the industry itself, but a lot of the people within it are extremely nice. And based off of what you just said, that's what it sounds like. I mean, have you had, and you don't have to name names, of course, have you had any negative interactions, or have they all been pretty?
So, you're absolutely right. I've met some of the smartest people. Like Cheri Deville is seriously one of the smartest humans I've ever met. And I've pitched things to like CEOs of Fortune 500. She's absolutely brilliant and she's so sweet and so kind. And she's one of my MILF mentors. I just call her the OG. And, when you had said something about surrounding yourself with smart people. And one of the things I used to say in my former career was, if you're in a room and you're the smartest person in there, go to a different room.
Yep,
because I want to be surrounded by people who are way smarter than me. And as far as the niceness, I have heard that the MILF group is much nicer and more welcoming because, you got to think these younger girls, there are so many more of them. I think I am the oldest one to ever enter into professional porn after age 50.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Hey, did you see I just got nominated for my first AVN too?
My bad. I was supposed to mention that on the first thing. So congratulations. That is absolutely wild. You were nominated for top MILF of 2021. Would that be right? Because I guess we're just gonna.
I guess, yeah.
Or 2020. Yeah, good. So god dang, that is congratulations. A little quick round of applause. Anyway,
thanks. Sorry, I digress.
Yeah, you gotta brag a little bit. Go ahead.
When I saw it though, I was like, holy shit. This has to be a typo. I was in shock and I'm like, this is real. Oh my gosh. But yeah, but I've heard that younger girls are a lot more cutthroat, because there are so many more of them. Now,
Makes
I
sense.
have done a lot of scenes where it's like a threesome and it's a guy and then my stepdaughter, and
Mm.
there's a different vibe when it's not the milfs. It's not that they're not nice, they are, but I just look at it as business and it's a job, and the vibe is just very different when it's younger girls. So
Yeah, no, it
they're
makes
nice.
sense.
They're
Yeah, it
nice to
makes
me
sense.
though.
Well, that's good, and no, that makes sense because there would be a level of I suppose competition, as well as a lot of the times the younger porn stars I'm imagining are as young as possible. Sad, like which I'd say sadly, because ultimately, like there's nothing, of course, wrong with doing porn if you're somebody who can get into it. But at that age, usually you don't know if you're able to handle it and things like that.
Yep.
And so, yeah, and you're getting in. Yeah, so I'd imagine, no, it makes total sense that there would be kind of a discrepancy there. Real quickly, just to finish off, because there's not too much else that I had to ask about the AVN nomination. So you just found out by looking at Twitter, like they don't reach out to you or anything like that to be like, hey, you're nominated, or how did you find out?
I just so happened to log onto Twitter and I saw it. And then at the same time, my phone buzzed and my publicist was like, hey, I was like, yeah, I just saw it. Like, what the hell? I didn't know this. And I'm like, what do I do? And he was like, nothing, you just say thank you. And I'm like, this is wild. And I called Cheri too. I'm like, holy shit, what do I do with this? She's so good. Like when I was negotiating my rates and stuff, I'm like, hey, so and so's offering me this for this, and she's like, oh hell no, ask them for more, they have it, or oh don't shoot with that, or shoot with this one, and
Yeah,
so
no, that's also real quickly, and a very important thing I've heard in the YouTube industry is that a lot of the lower tier YouTubers, they'll come in, they don't talk to the OGs, and then so they'll take really low deals, and overall it kind of lessens the advertising rate for everybody at the top, at the bottom, etc. So like to have those mentors that can tell you like, nah, they're trying to fuck you over, you better get your bag up from them, like that seems like it would be very helpful, and so it was pretty helpful, is what it sounded like. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. No,
yeah. She
that's
gives me
so
the
dope.
best advice.
And so yeah, no, and so that is so crazy. I don't know why I just always pictured like that if you're nominated for a big award like that, like you'd get a call from somebody and they'd be like, "Yo, you're gonna be up here," and then also like so. Will you not? So do you really not know if you won that award until the actual award show, or when would you find out?
I don't know.
Oh,
I'm so new.
You'd think that they'd have more communication with the talent, because like what if somebody doesn't show up because they don't think they're gonna win or something? I mean, I don't know how all
Maybe
that
because
works. But...
it's all digital this year, so maybe because of that, we're not having it in person.
Okay. No,
So
that
it'll
makes
be
a lot of sense.
online. Yeah, it'll be
Okay.
live streamed this year. And maybe they are communicating through my publicist because he's the one that, called to tell me. And he told me immediately, and I love ABN, so I don't want to give them a bad name. But yeah, I have no idea what happens next.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
know my friends are like, my outside of porn friends are like, do we vote? I'm like, yeah, sure. But I don't want to be that person like pinning it on my Twitter feed and saying like, go vote for me, go vote for me.
No, listen,
It just to
no,
me.
it's not desperate. I mean, listen, you don't feel comfortable doing it, don't do it. That's okay. But I would say, absolutely, motherfucker, put that shit on your pin tweet. Get those votes up. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this right now, go and vote for Mrs. Robinson. She won't tell you to do it, but I absolutely will. And there will be a link to that in the description, depending on where we are. Pornhub doesn't have a description, at least not for normal users. I don't know why. They should figure that out. Anyway, so congratulations on that. That is so crazy. And I did vote for you already, and I hope that you do win. And so anyway, let's go ahead and jump back just a little bit. So with was it overwhelming being just kind of like thrown into the deep end with all these stars that you're talking to and people that you're working with, or was there any point where you just like had to sit down and kind of like get your like self together, like, wow, holy shit, this is all really happening?
Yes and no. And again, it's crazy. I don't think about it in my day-to-day life, but I go back to my former career a lot. Those people intimidated me. CEOs of big companies were intimidating. And so doing it for so long, I became desensitized to being around important people that made big decisions, that were holding really big bags. So I was never starstruck by anyone. But there are times when I'm shooting and I think, how in the did this happen? How am I here right now naked? Like in this California shoot house shooting a threesome that's going to be on the internet. Like I think of that for maybe 5 seconds,
Hmm.
maybe like once a month, and I'm just like, holy shit. Or I'll call my best friend in South Carolina and I'm like, hey, oh my God. And she's like, I know. She's like, I was just having an oh my God moment, but we have them all the time. Like, the hell?
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah, I wouldn't. You know what? That makes a lot of sense. That all that you'd have like a recurring little moment, like and then like, okay, hold on, gotta get everything back down. I gotta work here, etc. Whatever it might be. Do the eyes on you ever get like? Because I know obviously the best thing about like, I also make a little dabble in making music on the side. I've done a couple shows in the past. Like the worst part of that is you're in front of the eyes. If you fuck up, everybody's gonna know. You know what I mean? With porn, luckily there's always that. Well, I would imagine maybe there must be some live sex shows, so never mind. But for the most part, you have that like level of the camera being there, so you don't have to worry about the eyes as much. But well, I find myself like thinking about if I know that I have a video that's gonna do well, right? Like I'll sit there and think, wow, I don't want to fuck up. I want to make sure I'm getting my point across because this might be seen by, for me, about 25,000 people at the higher end, right? So for you, obviously that. Now, I don't know what your general views are typically. However, like that's got to be somewhat intimidating, I would imagine, at least at some point. So how do you ever get caught up in thinking about like how people might interpret your scene, see your scene? Or I've heard some women even say like they enjoy thinking about how some people might take their scene, like etc. So yeah, okay. So what would you say on that end?
Yeah. I think about it. I think when I came in head first on, I just didn't care. And
Mm-hmm.
I noticed it with other people. The older they get, the less they care, and they just start acting, crazy. It's not even crazy. They just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
And it's the same way. I just don't care. Like I'm walking around set naked. I'm not the least bit affected on set. And then as far as people, I don't even think about it. In fact, somebody said, "What do you do when people recognize you?" And I can tell when someone recognizes me, but they won't come up and say anything. And it
Uh-huh.
freaks me out because, like, I was at a hotel with a kid, and we were in the hotel lobby, and this guy kept circling around us, and he was peeking. I was like, oh my gosh, he must recognize me because they don't come up to me
Yeah.
often. And then he, immediately messaged on my OnlyFans, like, hey, I was in the lobby. I didn't want to come up and disturb you. I'm like, please do next time because you're freaking me out. Like, please don't circle and like spy
Yeah.
around the little thing. It's weird. And, um, but yeah, no, I don't think about people watching me. I know they are. I guess I don't watch my own videos either.
Oh, okay. See, yeah, that is a thing that I hear. Like, there's, I think a series on Pornhub where there will be a guy who interviews either porn stars or has porn stars watch their stuff back, and it seems like at least the ones that he posts, it's hard because, like, especially I know this. I used to also live stream back in 2013. I've kind of done a little bit of a lot
Oh,
of the stuff for
nice.
this stuff, and so like, and then I got banned because I was 13 and I did some stupid shit. So anyway, the point is I remember at the time. Oh wait, I had thought exactly what I was gonna say there. Um, oh wait, what? I'm sorry. What exactly was your point that you just made a moment ago? Oh, it was that the
I don't
person
watch
would.
my own.
Oh, thank you. That's right. And so, one thing that I know from live streaming and then the YouTube content, etc., is that like you get this kind of content brain in a certain sense, where like you're just going to do what gets views, and like this. And the reason I say this is the person that does this series. Maybe it's just that he has these women react this way because he knows if they find their own porn more attractive or less like weird to watch, then more other people will watch it. So who knows how authentic this exactly is.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, yeah, I would think it would be very weird to watch yourself in intimate moments like that, especially knowing how not fake I want to say, but how much editing or etc. is done behind the scenes to make it look a lot more a certain way than it really is, right? And
Yes.
so yeah, and so ultimately also just I never thought about porn stars, how awkward it must be, right? Especially for a female, because ultimately you always have to be fearful of, like, and guys too, don't get me wrong, but women, like, there's like a huge issue with people being sold into sex slavery, all this other type of shit. Now obviously the odds of that happening are pretty low, but having a guy circling around kind of peeking over at you is not going to make you feel any more comfortable. And so especially though, having your kid there, like, I never thought about that either. Like, there must be for celebrities have that issue of, like, people are just nervous to come up to you. But do you think that maybe there's a little bit of an extra layer of weirdness because there's sex work, either for you or for the people on the other end, the people that watch?
Absolutely. Especially because in my day-to-day life, like, I'm constantly in fuzzy socks, leggings, and a t-shirt. This is like my uniform. And I even put on like a clean t-shirt for you. So
Well, I appreciate that.
I honestly, I was telling someone, I think they see me in public and they're like, is that Mrs. Robinson? Or is that maybe like her older sister? Because I'm not in, lingerie. I don't look sexy, or they know it's me and they're like, they almost, I'm guessing, can't make sense of it in their brain because I don't look like a porn star in day-to-day life. And I do think the sexual aspect of it is, this guy probably jerked off to me or sent me a picture of him in a diaper. Being a cougar and a milf in porn, we get
Oh
some
my
different
God.
types of things. So
What's the weirdest thing you've gotten? What's the weirdest thing? You don't have to say if you don't want to, but
no, I will. I
Oh,
will
yeah,
because
yeah.
I have nightmares about it. Yeah.
Oh, shit,
I have a
okay.
guy who puts his car keys in his peehole and
No.
and yeah, and he puts golf tees in his peehole.
This is how
And he
I've been
wants to
sitting
be,
this entire time, because that's
Mhm.
terrifying. Holy shit.
and he
Oh,
wants me to tell him how to turn it and jam it. I haven't heard from him in a couple of months. I think
like
he went dark.
like a
So
fucking bop it? Like a like a twisted. Oh,
yeah,
that's
and it's
terrible.
bleeding and there's scabs and because he'll send pictures and I'm just like it's a lot. It's just a lot. I will never get the visual out of the first time I saw the key in there and I was like, so now I had to share that with you so that you could never get
That's
that out of your head.
yeah, thank you. I appreciate. Well, you know what? I shouldn't ask questions that I don't want answers to, right? So that's a
Yeah,
lesson for me. I'm just kidding.
that's
No, that's
one.
crazy.
There's also, because I am older, like I am a MILF, but I'm also the cougar to a lot of them. They will send me pictures of them in diapers, um, poopy diapers. They want me to change them. And crazy, one of them got arrested. He was pretending to be a kid, a special needs, a disabled kid who needed to have his diapers changed. And they found out he wasn't a kid. He
Oh my
was like a
God.
30-year-old dude. And I don't know what happened to him, but
Yo, there is a special place in hell for that motherfucker. Jesus, that's
right?
terrible.
Yeah. Aren't you
There's
glad you asked?
yeah, actually no, I am, because there is a level of, like, I suppose, well, a primal aspect that can really send some people into a deep, dark place with sex, and it's so weird. But I guess that, like, when you're somebody in your position in the industry, you're going to be somewhat exposed to that layer of things, because, I mean, especially having OnlyFans, where you do get those messages, like, constantly you have these people's sexual ideas and fantasies, and a lot of the times people's sexual ideas and fantasies never bubble to the surface because they don't have the guts, etc. But having that layer of the computer and keyboard there allows them to send that out. And I mean, that's why so many women write on Instagram, even if they don't do porn, like, they'll go into their Instagram DMs and have just dicks for days through their DMs. And
Yeah.
that must be a really weird, and honestly, for a lot of women, probably scary thing to have to interact with on the porn side of things.
So for me, I'm really big into mental health and supporting mental health, helping people get mental health. I'm 18 years clean and sober, and
Good for you.
I thank you. And I worked in the recovery world for a while. I owned and operated a bunch of transitional living facilities for people getting out of rehab. And so, at my core, I am just a helper. That's just who I am. And so my heart breaks. I have a hard time in some of the messages hearing what some of these guys' moms, how they didn't pay attention to them. it fucks with me really badly because my my biggest asset, my biggest defect of my character is caring too much. And
Mhm.
so I found this thing called 7up, and it's for, online mental health help. And there are so many times I will drop the link, um, because they'll come to me. They look at me like I'm their mom, and I'll
Yeah.
say, you need to call this number. Like, if you don't, I am, and I'm, going to report it because I care, because I really truly do care. And
Yeah.
I kind of sometimes wish I didn't have the heart that I have, because I've had a painful life because of it. I've had a joyful one as well.
Mhm.
But yeah, like, a lot of these guys are coming from a sad place, and I can't fix all of them, but I would
Yeah.
certainly love to. But it's cool that we have these online resources now where I can direct them. So there was a fine line and a learning curve there to not get invested in it, because it was breaking my heart that there were so many guys out there with mommy issues, and I like
Yeah.
want to go to their moms and be like, what the hell's wrong with you? Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
what
No.
did you do to this kid? Damn it.
100%. Yeah, like and on like on a personal level, I had to kind of learn that, and I never would have thought having to learn it in the way, like in that way. It's pretty crazy. But like, I had friends when I was younger that I always tried to help, etc. And I had to, like, one time I remember, I was always very good at talking people down if they were up on the ledge, let's say, right? And so I remember I didn't want to say I had an ego about it, but I felt like, okay, if one of my friends is feeling bad, I can handle it. I don't need to involve other things. And then one time it didn't work out, and luckily they did not pass. I got very lucky in that, but they were severely harmed, right? And so I had to learn then, like, hey, like, this isn't a thing that you can just get fully invested in and always come out on top. Sometimes there are times where you have to send the police over for a wellness check or report whatever it might be. And so, yeah, to have to deal with that on an even wider scale, that's pretty crazy to think about. But at the same time, I mean, to have, because like you said, you are in a mother figure position for some of these people, I'd imagine. And so to
Yeah.
have that ability to reach out and be like, hey, get help, or I'm gonna get help for you, and be like, and it be coming from a place where they probably do feel some of that like motherly caring for that they weren't able to get from their mother that fucked them up, etc. Like, that's probably a pretty cool thing. And then also, you don't have to get invested in that sense trying to help everybody, etc. You can just be like, hey, go get some mental help, and then, hopefully they do and take advantage of that. So that sounds like you're in a pretty like unique and cool position, that even though you do care a lot, and that sure probably is something that is pretty bad in some ways, like it's put you in a position where you can almost uniquely help some of these people in a way, which is pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
is there let's okay, so let's go ahead and hop off here. let's try to drag back over to the porn career. So like, when you're shooting porn, obviously, like you said earlier, it's more of a business thing, etc. Is it more business in the professional world than it is in the, like, at home OnlyFans, like a homemade world? And which one do you prefer more? Do you prefer the professional setting of like a brazzers shoot, or just your at home OnlyFans type
Both of them, that's not the good answer, but
thing?
all the professional scenes I've been on, I've worked with, really good companies, and they're so safe, and I feel very respected. I feel very safe. We have people like a liaison on set. We have, we're on video saying if we feel comfortable, if anyone has made us do anything we don't feel comfortable doing. We have yes and no lists of what we're comfortable doing. So I do like that. The big difference between the two is the money. There's a lot more money in OnlyFans than there is in the
That's
professional porn world.
so crazy, because you'd think that the monolith industry is going to pull in the money, and I also kind of realize that too, though, because obviously not at all to the extent you have, but on Pornhub, if you post the free content and you do get maybe a couple donation, or a couple subscribers here, and then you get the monetization, we made a few grand off of Pornhub, but like, when you go to, we did Patreon back in the day, and like when you can get, we were pulling maybe $110 a week off of that, and so when you go over like a few grand from the ad money and the, you know, little bit of $5 here for subscribing, comparatively to when we had it all mainline to our, you know, Patreon, that money difference is massive. So but it's, do you think that that is because people are more willing to pay directly to you when you're like an individual person? Because people are not willing to pay $1 for brazzers a month a lot of the times, I've found, right? So it's weird
Yeah.
that you have this different relationship with the audience. So what would you say about that?
My browser seemed to do well. I can't remember how many views I had on that, but they all had to pay to view it. And
Mm-hmm.
it was hundreds of thousands of people. So, gosh, I don't know why they, I think it's the more personalized experience. I mean, financially, I could shoot, it would take me three browser shoots to make what I would make in at least three browser shoots in a day on my OnlyFans.
Damn.
And yeah, it's insane. It's literally insane. Like literally, and I hate the overuse of the word literally, but it is literally insane. So, and plus when I go to, you know, I have to travel and there's all of the extra stuff. Meanwhile, here I go and I get a hotel room, or if, you know, my kids are gone, and I'm home alone, I'll shoot something here. So it's a lot easier to shoot my OnlyFans content.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really shoot boy girl stuff anymore unless somebody's professional, like in the industry. At the beginning, I did a lot of stepson, former student stuff with, I had two guys in my area who did me a solid. Really, I say they did me a solid. They're like, yeah, okay. They shot with me. Um, it's my amateur stuff on the site. It's so different when I look at my first few videos to the ones I have now, because I've gained so much more experience and where the camera needs to be. And, you know, I pumped out, not intended, you know, like a brand new full length squirt video and a new jerk off instructions and a new welcome message and 43 customs, like all in one night in a matter of 3 hours. Whereas going to California to shoot with brazzers is going to be, you know, 4 days of going there and shooting with a couple companies, going to get tested, staying over, being away from home and my puppy. And
Yeah, no,
so,
and I hadn't thought about it, but it sounds like probably one of the biggest differences is the overhead is going to be crazy more. You have to pay for the experience of people, you have to pay for more people because you have these big teams with cameras, etc. Like, so it sounds like, and then of course when you're at home, you can, like you said, pump out content potentially. And the main thing too, which I didn't consider, is yeah, custom videos are a thing that you're not going to be able. There's a thing primarily as a guy that like if your girl takes like a brand new nude, it just feels better than if like it's an old nude that she just grabbed to send to you, right? So like there's a level of that too that you can't be offered by just having a subscription to brazzers, and it has to be a one-to-one thing with that porn star. So yeah, just the customization of content, OnlyFans really kind of allowed the industry to revolutionize itself in a sense and allowed people to really figure out what works for them and where it can go next. So that's
it's fun.
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's fun too, Rocky. Like, I have this guy who's really into cosplay, and so he will send me links to add to my Amazon list of costumes he likes, and then he'll pay for, you know, to give me 25 pictures in this outfit or do a 2-minute video in this one. And they're always so fun. I was just a policeman the other day for 25 pictures. I had so much fun doing it. But I just had to laugh. I was like, good God, please, like, hope nobody calls me right now because I have to answer on FaceTime. And my one girlfriend always calls when I'm shooting, and I answer in whatever kind of garb I'm in, and
Yeah,
to
no,
kick out of it.
it was funny. I imagine this person probably has an OnlyFans just based off of the way that the content looks, etc. I don't know though, but recently I was going through YouTube, and there was like a channel called Pan's Pianist or something along those lines. I don't know if her name's Pan or if it's like a allusion to the old Greek god Pan, but basically she would sit there and play piano in cosplays that are, you know, more sexualized, and like she would only shoot from like neck down, no face, and she was just amazing at playing the piano, and it was so crazy because I was like, wow, she combined like her love for cosplay, her love for the piano, and her like her ability to pull in an audience based off of like people liking watching all that combined, and she had like 3 million subscribers or something. Yeah, it was wild. It blew my mind, and I was like, and the first thing I said was, good for her, because like I would love to combine my like loves and stuff like that all into one thing to be able to put together content that I love and enjoy and etc. And also like the songs she was playing were like covers and things like that generally, which one are fair use, and then two, it's probably the music that she enjoys as well. So like everything to combine like that is such a cool way, and to think that people can go make money on OnlyFans of like cosplaying, and some people just cosplay and do lewd photos, some people have sex in their cosplays, you know what I mean? Like the wide difference that you can have in content on OnlyFans and still be successful is almost as wide of a variety in content as you can on YouTube in a lot of ways. It's really cool.
Yes.
And yeah, go ahead. Did you have anything to say on that?
I was going to say, have you seen I Am Thompson, the guy with the violin?
Yes, I fucking love him. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love him so much. And I've been messaging him. Call me, I Am Thompson. I want to work with you.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Call
he's amazing.
over. Yeah, no, it's so fun to see people just be able to do things. And so I guess it gets to the next point. I guess probably one of the biggest things would be that you get to decide what you do on OnlyFans. That's one of the huge things where there's probably more. How do the scenes get created? Is there a team that writes them, or like do you get to choose from a list of what scene you want to do? Like, how does that generally work for brazzers?
Oh, for brazzers.
Yeah, for brazzers.
For brazzers, it's just they will say, "Hey, we have a boy girl. It's a stepmom stepson, or there's a teacher scene with a threesome coming up. Here's the other talent. Here's when it is. Can you do it?" And then they tell you, your rate and what you might need to bring, and that's it. And you show up, and it's like a movie scene, and there's full production staff there. A little less now with COVID, but you get your makeup done. And yeah, my first one was kind of wild. I didn't expect it to be as professional as it was, and yeah, they just let you know ahead of time what the scene is, and you can say yes or no.
Okay, that's pretty cool. And then so obviously with your own personal OnlyFans, you get to choose who you collaborate with, things like that as well. And yeah, so there's literally pretty much, other than of course what the site doesn't allow, but there's no overhead there. And then so with brazzers, it's more like whatever they have available, they think you're good for it, they're just gonna go ahead and give you a call. If you want to do it, you do it. Sounds about right?
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and with OnlyFans, I did a lot of A/B testing, and I've been, and maybe you can answer this for me.
Okay.
When you're watching a sex tape,
yeah,
and would you rather it be like, this sex tape has doggy cream pie in it, or would you rather see the whole shebang from the BJ and all different positions? What is your preference?
So my preference, I like the different positions and the finish. I like foreplay on the girl. I don't care about the blowjob, but like, yeah, it's different for every guy probably is what I'd imagine. But personally, that's how I feel about it.
Okay, yeah, because I was testing, and the videos that do the best are if they are one position with the finish listed. And I love to write, so I always write really long captions of exactly what you're getting, and I always have a teaser that's like tiny little pieces of it, so you can see it on the wall ahead of time. And if it's stepmom doggy cream pie, that does better than, I have one called Date Night Fuck Fest, and it does better than that based solely on judging a book by its cover, that they're getting all kinds of sex in that, but they want the doggy cream pie. That's their favorite, and they can feel like POV they're doing it. So
no, that makes perfect sense, because like I said, I love SEO. It's one of my favorite bits of YouTube. I talk to me and my brother do our reactions essentially. Well, I call him my brother, he's my roommate, they're practically brothers, but essentially when I go and I title our videos and I do the tags and all that stuff, at this point I'm not even a human being. I feel like I'm a robot that just goes in, I know the words that are going to get it. I know what people are gonna click on. And so like that's one, like for example on our main channel we do all sorts of stuff, but like let's say The Weeknd just dropped an album, it'll be like The Weeknd official music video, first time reaction, first time this, that, the other thing, Smokin Sessions reacts, and then in the tags it's like The Weeknd review, The Weeknd reaction, reaction to The Weeknd, like all these different, you know what I mean? And so ultimately that makes perfect sense to me that you'd want to go ahead and have it more condensed down, because one, I do know me, I prefer like a cream pie finish, so I will usually always click on the one that says that. And then for the most part, when I say I like multiple like positions, usually it's like there's one or two, maybe three positions that I really enjoy from it, and the rest of it I'm just either going to skip over or click through. But I like a little bit of variation, you know what I mean? And so ultimately, yeah, that makes sense. You'd be able to like kind of streamline all the main things that the viewer wants to click into these titles. And so you don't even have to think about that when it comes to brazzers though, right? Like it's just they do all that for you. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
they do all that.
And so what was this process of like streamlining down these? I know you kind of mentioned it already, but did you just kind of look over what gets the most views, or how did that kind of work for you?
I was highly analytic with it. I went to Pornhub and I was looking at the titles and looking at the videos that got the most views and most interaction, most engagement. And, foot job was one. I'm not a foot person, but that's a big thing. So I knew I needed a foot job. And that's all it's called, is foot job, and it does really well. I look at the top search terms, and MILF is still up there. It's still number 2 below hentai. Nice. Maybe not today, I don't know, but it was, it's always in the top 10. Cougar teacher. So I'm like a redhead. So like a redhead MILF teacher doggy cream pie is going to kill it.
Yep. So, it sounds like it would kill it.
Yeah. Or mommy domination Facebook. Like,
see, that sounds fire. Also, I didn't even think about it. I don't know why I didn't think about this. You hit the redhead category as well. I don't know why I didn't think about that. That should be a main thing. But so no, that makes a lot of sense. I remember one, like did you ever watch, weird question, did you ever watch Breaking Bad?
Oh my gosh, yes.
Okay,
love
great.
it.
So I remember I think 13 when that show was going, or 14. And so essentially there was this scene where Walt just kind of comes in and he just like goes and starts having sex with Skylar. And then it's not a positive thing because she's like, no, I don't want this. But essentially, for some reason in my brain, there was this idea that like, oh, like that's kind of attractive, like being able to go up and have sex with your partner. It's like a of course, like agreed upon thing, etc. And so I remember there's this, like, I saw this one video and it was titled Free Use Porn. And it's like this, there's this genre of porn where basically you can go up and just have sex. Like I think even Brazzers has a legitimate website for this now.
Nice.
It's like freeuse.com or something like that, and I think it's literally run by Brazzers. But it's essentially, you can go up and just have sex with the partner at any point. And so me and my roommate did this reaction to the this type of porn, and it got like 20,000 views. And for our one-off like porn like genre reactions, or a kink, because occasionally we'll just pick a kink and just go down the reaction, that was insane to us to be like, holy shit, just this random thing. So even just these individual like one-off fetishes, like these niche markets sometimes can be so vastly popular that it's mind-blowing. Like I said, there's even a website now for it. Have you run across any of those from like custom videos, things like that? What's some of the funny ones maybe you've come across, any weird ones, etc.?
Yeah, so when they send me something, I immediately Google it because, I'm not being sexually active. I used to be a hoe too. Don't let me paint myself like I'm some like PTA mom. I was a straight up hoe in high school, college, grad school. It's always been like the yin and the yang. It's always been devil angel, like bad girl trying to be good, or good girl trying to be bad. But for a long time,
so that's good.
Yeah, but for the over the last however many years, I've been pretty straight-laced. And so I don't know what half the shit is. And panty stuffing. And I was like, panty stuffing? Like, where are they getting stuffed? I'm like, oh, right, duh. And so that was one. You insert the panties, and then you lick them, smell them, and then you send them to them. That's a really big one. The foot job was wild to me because I don't like feet. So that was
I don't
hard.
either, but I've always known about it because it's just my generation is weird, I guess. I don't know. Anyway,
I don't
continue.
know, but God, they say one of every five men love feet, and it's true. I have so many feet guys. That's one. They love the facial, me getting facials. That's not really out of the ordinary. Um, a lot of my customs are scolding them. They'll say like, "Hey, I have a really high pressure job. I'm the VP of this big whatever. That I've come to learn through the DMs with them, and they want
Mhm.
me to tell them to sit in the corner and that they've been a bad boy." Um, there's a lot of that, it's the release, I guess, for them going from high pressure, needing to be dominated. And then I don't get a lot of guys who want me to call them daddy. I do have a handful, but I'd say it's like maybe 1%. The rest want me to
Are
call them
they
my
older or younger than you? The ones
younger.
that okay, okay. That's I wonder if that's like an intentional thing where they want specifically a MILF to call them. I like to be dominant in my relationships, but I generally only date within a few years. And so
Yeah.
like I never knew how popular the mommy stuff was until TikTok, because TikTok is that actually, is that where you pulled in a lot of your views from on TikTok, was just the MILF aspect, or where did you get a lot of your views on TikTok
Let me
from?
talk about TikTok.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's the number one MILF on TikTok, and they've banned nine of
Yo,
my accounts. Nine. And the last
Jesus.
one had just hit 1 million and they banned it. I'm on my 10th account, I have a main and a backup, and I can't get the other one to grow past, I think I'm at 130,000. They hate me. I swear, as soon as my face comes up on Instagram or TikTok, they're like, you can't even create a new account. I have 4 phones in front of me right now that, because just changing the SIM card isn't working. Like, I have to buy brand new devices and not log on to my Wi-Fi, because my best month on OnlyFans was last September. I've come nowhere near it since then, but it was my
Mhm.
very best month. And I had a TikTok go viral. And in the TikTok, it was 4 seconds that said, if you are seeing this, you love cougars. That was it. I had the OnlyFans link in the bio on my TikTok. They could direct click. So they saw the video, clicked it, and went. Now TikTok has banned the use of the direct link to OnlyFans. They've also banned Linktree. So we have to direct the traffic to Instagram, and like, users are lazy. They click once, they're not going to keep clicking
Mhm.
through. You lose so many people with drop off, and um, so it went down. But that month that went viral, um, I couldn't keep up. I had like 5,000 unanswered DMs, and my revenue was, it was sick that month. I mean, it was close to 400,000 for a month. I,
Dang.
I was blown away from TikTok. And now TikTok fucked us all, and I don't come anywhere close to that, but
Yeah, no, so I made, and I have no idea. This is not, I'm sure, why you followed me at all, and I have no idea why you followed me. I know you don't remember, but basically I made a video about Johnny Sins because there was a person on TikTok who was impersonating Johnny, and they were like they had like I don't remember how many, at least 100,000 followers, and then they were doing weird fucking shit, like replying to Charlie D'Amelio, who was a child, saying they were gonna wait until they turn 18 to fuck them, and just horrible shit. Yes, and so ultimately I'm sitting here like, this is weird, why is this account not being banned? And then I realized Johnny Sins isn't verified. And also I had known about this girl named Aria Banks. She's been
I
banned.
love Aria. We're gonna
She's
shoot together.
Oh,
Love
really?
her.
Dope. I love
Yes,
Arya's TikTok. I've
me
followed her since
too.
her first ban, essentially. And so they keep banning her. They never verify porn stars. And then I reached out and reported the Johnny Sins content that was impersonating him. And then I made a video about the shit because I was like, this is fucking insane to me. And so then TikTok was like, no, we're not going to ban this account. This account's not impersonating anybody. And I reached out to Johnny. I was like, yo, man, you should reach out. Like, this is really fucked. And he's like, no, I've reached out about that guy. They won't do anything. And so TikTok is, first off, they pretend to be a site for kids when in reality we all know that no matter what, they're just not banning porn stars, or they're just banning porn stars. Everybody else that wants to make sexualized content is a lot of them are banned, do not get me wrong, but they have a specific hate for porn stars, it seems, for some reason. And also, as an artist, real quickly, I like use a link tree all the time to use to promote my music, as well as my channels, YouTube channels on the side and stuff like that. And I had the Pornhub in the link tree and all that shit too, and it's like they're making it hard for everybody, not just like adult content creators. But anyway, sorry to come back to it. So
no, with you. Riley Reid, same thing. She there's a verified Riley Reid account on TikTok right now pretending to be her, and it's not her.
That's fucking wild to me. This is and TikTok, and here's from the, and sorry, I went full cam here for just a moment. While TikTok should be afraid of this from a legal position, all right? Because ultimately it's going to come down to somebody really being taken seriously, and then somebody taking action towards Johnny Sins in some way, or Johnny Sins being fed up and saying, fuck this is slander, I will now be suing you, TikTok, for this post here, because you have now said you will not ban it. And so they, to me, the fact that they don't want to take it seriously is just absolutely mind-boggling.
It is.
Yeah, and so you were never were you ever verified on TikTok, or just no?
They won't verify me, no. But there are profiles of me on Facebook. A friend of mine was like, "This isn't you. It's not your name, but it's all of my pictures from my Mrs. Robinson Instagram." And I reported it to Facebook, and I said, "Hey, they're impersonating me." And they were like, "We've determined that they are not impersonating you." And I was like, I'm telling you, like, here's my birth certificate, here's my passport, here's my driver's license, here's my Facebook, here's my name. That's not them. That's somebody, that's me. Like, someone else is doing that, and they wouldn't take it down. And I appealed it all the way to the oversight board, and they still didn't take it down.
What I think is gonna end up and specifically Facebook, because they have a system for this. YouTube has a fucking crazy system for it. I know Twitch is just now coming into this issue. For that, send a DMCA takedown, because you would own the right to your pictures, and they can't. And Facebook is not gonna fuck around with copyright. TikTok, as far as I'm aware, doesn't have like the same system, however, to submit takedowns. So ultimately, Johnny could easily be like, yo, this guy is violating my copyright, he's using my image without my consent. But at the end of the day, there's no easy way to do that with TikTok, sadly. But
that's a great suggestion. I never thought of I have a company that scans the internet for all of my leaks, and I never even thought of messaging them. So thank you.
Yeah,
my head is just, I have brain fog so bad from COVID. It's been really rough.
No, it's all good. Well, also, this is I love the legal side. This is my whole thing. So that's usually that's the best way to take care of stuff is legally, if people won't take it down.
I forgot. I love how smart you are and how well spoken you are. And if you want to hear another little legal snafu with so when I first got into porn, and I told this guy, yeah, I will be your wife's pretend stepmom.
Okay.
I had to build my brand on my own, and so I launched a free page on OnlyFans, and I used my skills to grow my social media to drive traffic to my free page. Then I made a big fuss, like, oh, I have a page and there's no paywalls, and that was a big success. And within, I'm not tooting my own horn. I'm just as excited about it as I don't know. I don't like tooting my own horn, but I'm excited. So the VIP page became like a 0.01, which used to be important in OnlyFans world, within 6 weeks. So did really well. And then the pretend stepdaughter and I launched this page. So when I started doing this, it was more of an emotional empowerment kind of decision, however cliche that may sound. And then he and I started butting heads. He wanted me to work on his team too, because he knew I had these marketing and advertising skills, and he was a lot younger than me and had zero experience in the professional world, let alone marketing world. So I would tell him, okay, well, here's how this would work. Here's what I recommend here. And he never once took any of my suggestions. And we started to really butt heads, and I was like, this isn't going to work out. I don't work well with people that are, not nice people. And I said, hey, let's go our separate ways. I'll be happy to still shoot with your wife for our pretend stepdaughter stuff. But I want to sever ties with you, basically. Yeah. Well, he sued me.
Jeez.
because, so I think I'm dumb. This is the dumbest business decision I ever made. I signed the contract and I read it myself, and I didn't have my entertainment attorney look at it. I
So
had to
yeah.
pay him close to $1 million to get out of the contract and get my own
Fuck.
content back. He sold
Oh
me back my own
shit.
content.
Yo, he
Yeah.
took your. Oh, that's horrible. And you know what? Here's the thing too: is this is a big thing, obviously, within the music industry, right? Is you have these people who are either one, like myself, who like is fresh into it. I've had a little bit of interactions with people here and there, very small because I don't have anything big, but just like people who are like, hey, I'll even just like manage you for this, that, the other thing. They always come alongside these contracts that either have a little bit of money that makes it really look good, or they'll come with these things that like sound reasonable, but then if you look at the fine print, it's like, hey, you're not going to be able to create music creatively on your own unless you give us a large percentage of it or you pay us a shit ton of money. And so I'm not going to say anything against you there, because that is the most common way to get fucked in any industry at the very beginning. So ultimately,
I
fuck
trusted
that
him
guy.
though. Yeah,
Fuck
him.
that
I
guy.
trusted him. He was a mutual friend of a friend, and I truly thought we both had pure hearts. Like, I would never do that to somebody.
Of
And
course.
the contract also said that I would pay him in perpetuity, meaning he would get
Fuck
paid on
me.
everything else that I
Yeah.
make. And he had this really
Oh.
like podunk attorney, and he thought he had a badass attorney. And my attorney was like a heavy hitter from Beverly Hills. He's like, this guy thinks his attorney's good. He actually, what you signed was like a template. And because his attorney didn't even really like fine tune it, you're okay in all these other aspects. He said, but you will have to buy your own content back. And I was like, you mother effer. Like, I can't believe you would do that to another human being. Like, I just can't grasp that whatsoever.
No, neither.
Oh,
Like ultimately, I want to go for defense attorney, and everybody's like, "Why do you want to be a defense attorney? You're gonna be an immoral person. You're a piece of shit." Like I'm all this. I don't even. I just say attorney now, and I refuse to like answer people whether it's defense or prosecutorial. I'll just say criminal attorney, because the second I say defense, everybody's like, "You're evil." But like, because they always are like, "Oh, so you want to get like guilty people off?" And then so my response is, "You always want to put innocent men behind bars." That's the only logical response. And so ultimately, these lawyers, one, it's hilarious because every lawyer thinks they know everything about everything. And it's funny because like that whole template shit I would do when I was like 13. You know what I mean? Pull a template, fine tune 2 words, and then just like move on. And then that's how ultimately either you leave something in there that's an accident and then you fuck yourself over with that contract, or ultimately you're not going to get across the contract that you want to get. But I don't understand the thought process behind it, because yeah, for me, I want to go into defense because I want to like there's all sorts of people that are I suppose in the way that you said it, kind of impure of heart, right? Like they don't care about what happens to who, they only care about their end goal. I find that the legal system is the most common place for people to be fucked over, simply because the knowledge is not readily available and nobody teaches you how to study it. If you knew how to read it, it would be fine. But the problem is it's a different language in a lot of ways, which is why like I want to go for defense, because then I can also like help people who don't have the money, who are from the inner city, who are getting fucked over with things like weed and shit like that. It's absolutely insane. All because they just don't have the simple knowledge of how to read this document properly. And so, yeah, like the thought process it takes to be like, I'm going to fuck this person over like heavily in perpetuity means forever. Okay. Like for people that don't know, like that to me is mind boggling. I just don't know how you, and especially because I wouldn't feel good about that money either.
No.
Like, how could you feel morally like that you have the right to that money in any way?
Not only that, just to add a little more onto the porn part of that. So we have this step family page up, and I have signed an NDA, and he has as well. We're not allowed to talk poorly about each other, but my attorney has advised me I am allowed to state facts, which really do portray him in a poor light because they're facts.
Yeah.
So, oh, there's like a little orb. That was wild.
No.
Sorry.
You did.
So we had the step family page, and then he had 2 other girls who were friends of mine who started OnlyFans pages, and he never let them log into their own pages. And
Damn.
he was taking like 50% of what they were making, and he took a significant amount of the money I was making, because it was never about the money for me. People are like, oh, money, property, and prestige will scar your character and your heart or whatever, and you're chasing the dollar. And yeah, I like to make money. It's nice. I like nice things, but
Yeah.
it was never, I could never put my head down at night being the kind of person that he was. But anyway, he had these other profiles that were up. So the Step Family page is live. I'm still on there. And these other two girls, their porn is live, and none of us can get into the accounts. And he's
Damn.
selling our content and keeping all the money. And no cease and desist would stop him from doing it. And that's when I called Reid. I go, hey, I'm having this issue. What do you think? 5 minutes later, boom, all three profiles were down. I was like, yeah,
Hell yeah.
some of that, you jerk.
Yo, Riley Reid for the win. Hell yeah. That's dope. See, that's the thing. When you get those, that's both the great thing and the sad thing. Once you get those pulls, it's good. But if you don't have those pulls, like for those people, I'm sure can't be. If there's just some random fucking asshole that's doing this, right? Like, there must be more stories like that out there of women being fucked over. Yeah, exactly.
That's why Riley started her agency. She started it because of all of these girls who were getting fucked over in the OnlyFans world. Agencies come in, they want to take over your page, and the girls don't look at the fine print, just like I didn't. And yeah, it's embarrassing. It makes me look stupid. But I truly trusted this friend of a friend as having a kind heart. And I get burned every time I do that. I should have known better, but I learned, and now I have attorneys, I have a publicist, I have an agent, I have people looking at everything that I do. I have Riley's team managing my brand. I've got media buyers, and because it's sad we can't trust people to just be honest, good humans. And it's, I don't know, my cross to bear, my personal and professional life.
Yeah, and so that's just a lesson to anybody watching. If you get into any industry and you sign any contract, have a lawyer look over it. Even if you have no money, if just hit up like most lawyers will do consultations for like some level of degree for free. So ultimately that is a hard lesson to learn. But I have two things left, and then I suppose we can get out of here. It's been a great interview. I've been enjoying it quite a bit. But so we brought up for 2 seconds earlier psychedelics. So I know you said that you have rehabilitated, and so there is, because I mean, even like the guy I think that created NA or AA, I can't recall, but he had like a discrepancy at the end of his life where he believed in psychedelics and didn't think that was breaking overall rehabilitation, etc. What are your thoughts on psychedelics? Is psychedelics something that you think are like drugs that take you out of rehabilitation, etc.? Like, what generally, and then also, what are some of your experiences with psychedelics?
Okay. Well, this could be a whole separate episode. So I've been clean and sober for 18 years. I also suffer from, not to bring the mood down, but I suffer from major depressive disorder. And I've been pharmaceutically medicated for 18 years with your typical, SSRIs. And eventually they stopped working. And so I sought out different types of treatment for major depressive disorder. And I found a doctor. I actually searched. I'm really resourceful. I searched all over the world for the best doctors, the best hospitals to, we talked about ketamine infusions. We talked about microdosing. We talked about ayahuasca. And I dabbled in a little bit of everything while being clean and sober and talking with a support group who, they support this type of mental health help. Yeah. I will never do anything with the motive of getting high, on a daily basis. I don't want to get high anymore. I vape nicotine. I drink coffee. Like, that's about as fun as it gets for me. But I did a ton of research. I ended up doing a bunch of ayahuasca ceremonies. Not a bunch, I shouldn't say that. I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ceremonies.
One is a bunch for most people. Ayahuasca is an intense drug.
It is, and I did the real deal. I didn't go to not to dog rhythmia or anything, but I got hooked up with this really good, this indigenous tribe in Colombia, and they bring the tatia to the United States a couple of times a year. And at the time I was super depressed. I had just gotten divorced. I had PTSD. There was just this awful stuff going on. My meds weren't working, and they brought the tatia to California, and I flew out and I did all of these plant ceremonies, frappe, which is it's like snorting this tobacco stuff, never with the motive of getting high. It was
Hmm.
all so I could live and enjoy life without feeling like I constantly wanted to die.
Yeah.
So I would talk with these people who were in, 12-step fellowships out there, like, am I going to have to change my sobriety date? They're like, no, you'll see, you have to trust us. You'll see when it's done that it was nothing like that. It's not like the tripping when I was, a wild child going to a concert at Jimmy Buffett. Let's, take a couple taps of acid and, wake up face down with like a grill burning my leg in the parking lot at 3
Yeah.
a.m. It wasn't that. This was more about like saving my life.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I dabbled in ayahuasca, definitely changed my life. I tried microdosing. It wasn't for me whatsoever.
Did you try
Um,
acid or shrooms microdosing?
Both. I tried
Both.
both.
Okay.
Yeah, neither one. But I worked with a doctor a very highly respected doctor
Hmm.
um, I let him know, like, I can't lose my clean date. You don't understand. Like, it's the most important date to me. I'm like, I cannot lose this. This is what matters. And never once did I feel like I was high or like,
Yeah.
drunk or anything. Um, I tried the ketamine infusions. And even when I went for those, I said, listen, first of all, I fucking hated K-holes just to be like, let's just get that out of the way. I don't want to be in a K-hole. But
Yeah.
I was like, I need you to put me to sleep. And what they do is they put you to sleep and they infuse you with ketamine, and then they flush it out. You wake up and you don't know anything has happened, yet you don't feel like you're going to like take a nosedive out the window. So that was kind of good. That really helped me a lot between the
Yeah.
ayahuasca and the ketamine infusions.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
psychedelics.
ketamine infusions are the one thing that I've not done. I haven't done ketamine on any level. I've done some level of dissociatives. For me personally, so I got into psychedelics at 18, and I didn't have much money then. Don't have too much money now. But so essentially, like the first time that I did psychedelics was I tried to make ayahuasca myself. I ordered I ordered the acacia root and all that stuff from the Netherlands. It was supposed to be really high quality, and I probably fucked it up horribly, right? Because I didn't have that much of a tripping experience. But I remember it was interesting because I like sat down, I felt this like whoom, 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 like type feeling is how I explain it. Like you're kind of like, I think Joe Rogan explains it. I used to watch Joe Rogan a lot of like just going through like a space, like a tunnel with a spaceship or something like that. And so then I remember I closed my eyes and I had like this tribal music going because I was like into the whole thing. Like I knew like, okay, people say you have to respect it, you have to treat it as what it is, etc. And so I was like, I'm gonna do all that. And so I did my research into it, and then I closed my eyes, and I remember seeing kind of like this massive tree, which for some reason I interpreted as like the tree of good and evil in some certain extent. And it had this serpent kind of going around the bottom, and it was kind of like a religious visual in a certain sense. And so that got me really interested. And then from there, like I did the two things that I've done with since I didn't do ketamine was MDMA and a lot of acid. MDMA helped a lot because I had a lot of like trauma from when I was younger, of like family trauma or other personal trauma, etc. And so that helped me reconnect to my emotions in a sense because I had dissociated a lot. And then the taking the acid, what it allowed to a couple things. It allowed my creativity to be increased by quite a bit, as well as I was able to look at these things within myself and not have this massive emotional response to them, more to where I could go back and analyze these different things throughout my life and say, hey, this led to this, that led to this, and I don't like how this is, so I should change that. You know what I mean? And that perspective shift that comes with psychedelics in a lot of the sense, I think can be extremely useful, because I also had extreme like depression just constantly since I remember I've had my first suicide attempt when I was like 12, 13, something like that. So like ultimately they're these things that we look at that we don't even know play such a huge factor on our mental psyche and our subconscious and whatnot. So it's a common thing that I found, especially people in creative industries. I would absolutely argue OnlyFans is a creative industry and porn's a creative industry. That like there's a thing that leads you to being like creative, especially with advertising, even though it is a lot of stats, like there is a level of creativity to that, obviously. So when you're somebody who's creative as well as like who's had a lot of trauma, or who at the very least has felt what it's like to be depressed, etc., like psychedelics seem to be pretty helpful. And that's where I do heavily, I like a lot of the things that AA and NA actually do teach. Like there's a lot of great ideas, but I think that they're turning people away from things like MDMA therapy for veterans has proven to be extremely useful in various studies and whatnot.
Yes.
Yeah, things like that. I think it's a shame so to turn people away from that. So I didn't know actually that there were like subsections that are of groups that do that. So that's really
Yes.
cool to know. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. No, I love knowing that about you too. I'm sorry you struggle with the same demons.
Yeah, no, and I'm
Yeah.
sorry that you do as well. I mean, it's because there's like that level of feeling of just like being tired, you know what I mean? You're just like so exhausted of life and going through stuff, and to be able to like look at life now and be like, and still I get those moments where I'm like, yo, this is fucking, I'm exhausted, you know what I mean? But to be
Yes.
able to mostly go through life and be like, wow, you know what, things aren't that bad, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
such a lot of people don't have to think about how that feels, you know what I mean? A lot of people are of course depressed at some point, but they get that bit of respite between when they have their next massive life event usually, you know what I
Yes.
mean? But,
Right? Yeah. Like, what the hell? What did I do in a past life? What did I harm a lot of people?
Yeah,
Right?
you're starting to wonder. Yeah, no, exactly. So no, that's really fascinating, and so thank you for opening up about that as well on your end, and
Absolutely.
yeah, that's definitely something over here at Smokin Sessions. We like psychedelics. That's one of the things that I love talking about. So we will be talking about that in future interviews we do with people. And so the last thing, all right, let's just say here, let's say that there is a guy, he wants to get into porn. He's an average looking dude. Now here's the problem, a very average penis. Would you suggest that this guy, first off, is there a market for average penis porn? And then also, if there's not, would you suggest that like the person get penis extension surgery? Is that necessary? What is the general like? Yeah, that's it. That's all.
You just blew me away. There's penis extension surgery. I didn't even know that was
Oh
a
yeah,
thing.
there is a real penis enlargement surgery. It only lasts for like 6 months at a time, I think. Though they put this prosthetic in that lengthens it, and then it like stays there for 6 months and then dissolves away, and then it goes back down to the length it was. So that's a
Yeah.
thing.
So, I mean, are you saying like on a personal level, or if a guy wants to get into doing porn?
Listen, if it's a friend of mine wants to do porn, and then like
Okay.
what's the best, like, is OnlyFans a good way to start? Do you start a Pornhub, like, and actually just like what's the best way for a guy
Alright.
to get into porn, do you think?
The best way for a guy to get into porn. First of all, women don't want to buy men's OnlyFans.
True.
For the most part, unless you have some kind of like shtick, I think they call it. I did come across a guy who does a lot of that. What is that called? The ASMR?
Oh yeah, ASMR. Mhm.
ASMR. And he does these like "Good morning, beautiful."
Yeah,
Okay. He does
I
these, like,
can't
really
stand
deep
ASMR.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't either. I'm like way too sensitive to all
Yeah.
that. But he does that. He does really well on OnlyFans.
Okay,
As far
makes
as
sense.
penises, yeah, like if you want to get into porn, and what I suggest is you create an Instagram, a Reddit, a Twitter, and a TikTok.
Okay,
Then create your OnlyFans,
got you.
and then you create a link tree,
Okay.
and then you drive all the traffic to your OnlyFans, and figure out who you are and come up with your yeah. It just, a dick size doesn't matter. It really doesn't.
Hey, and that's all we wanted to hear here at the Smokin Session
Okay.
Show. So, ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Robinson, thank you so much for this interview. It's been very fun, very informative. I think that we've talked about a lot of fun stuff. If you're interested in the future, we might have even some more to talk about, it sounds like, that all can come up with. So we can definitely do another one in the future. But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for coming on, taking the time out of your day. Definitely go vote for her being nominated for the top MILF at the AVN Awards. I will have a link to that in the description if you're over on YouTube, over on the Hub. Go to my Twitter. You'll see that during the outro because, again, there's no description on Pornhub for some reason for normal users. So the point of the matter is, yeah, thank you so much once again. And is there anything that you want to say before we hop off here?
Thank you for having me. This was really fun. I'm not really big on talking about myself typically, but this was really awesome. And I'm really grateful to you for having me on the show. So you.
Of course, no problem. Thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you all in the next one.
I spaced out of my head to the depths of the universe. It's a spell or a chance just to open up.